Good morning, boys and girls. Today, we're going to be going into the wilderness, about 50 miles east into the desert. My name is Ben Surdy, and we're going to be talking about the Kangaroo Rat. Putting him up on the screen right now. So, he is called the Kangaroo Rat because of these awesome hind legs he has. He goes hopping through the desert. He's about as big as a house full of mice, but he's a rat. And he stays in the desert where it's hot. And we're going to talk about how he survives. Today, I'm going to intro him a little bit more. I'm going to go through his genome sequence. I'm going to talk about the evolutionary characteristics of these rats. And then I'm going to relate them back to us and the biotechnology of the future. Okay, so these rats live in really inhabitable environments. This is the North American plains. Just for the local people, just think about going east straight to the California-Nevada desert. They're burrowers, so they stay underground, and they're also nocturnal, so they don't have to see the sun very much. They eat seeds, grass, berries, beans, and some insects, but mostly seeds. What they never have is they never get any water because of the high amount of predators that are around. There's no way they could ever get to water without getting killed. So it's really cool how they don't have to drink water, and we're gonna explain that later. All right, so now predators. Their predators are badgers, coyotes, foxes, and snakes. This is a sidewinder rattlesnake. We're gonna show in a few seconds how they get away from snakes that are this vicious. Okay, we're gonna talk about the genome sequence. So today we're talking about Ord's kangaroo rat, which is one species of the whole kangaroo rat genome or genus, which I'm going to explain. So first, kingdom Animalia, they're animals, self-explanatory. Phylum Chordata, this is where we get the tailbone. We're phylum Chordata as well. The class, Mammalia, mammals, red-blooded. We have fur, 4 limbs. We have milk for our young. Same with humans. Here's where we get a little different. The order is Rodenta. This is rodents. This is where we branch off. They have very specific teeth to gnaw on things. They don't have enamel in their molars, and they don't have any canines. Their family is Heteromyiida. This is when we get to any sort of mouse and rat. This is when they kind of start getting down in size a little bit. Genus, Dipodomys. So this is where we get to every single kangaroo rat. So this is one of the most diverse genuses out there. There's about 60 species. This is when we're talking cheek pouches, just like squirrels if you think about it, and ear shape, which we're going to get to. Finally, species Ordi. So I picked this species because it's the most widespread and successful. Basically, every characteristic we go through, most of the kangaroo rats have, but the species Ordi has it very exaggerated, and that's why they're so successful in the wild. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the actual characteristics that they have. I'm going to split it up into defense from predators and survival of the elements. So first, their defense. Their hearing is 90 times better than a human's. They have these things called tainami bules, which are basically caves in the inner ear. If you think about echoes in caves, that's what's in their head. All right, here's the really cool part. This is a rat jumping away from a rattlesnake. So they can do this because they have super fast reflexes. About 50 milliseconds compared to a human is 200 at best. They have really large legs. I've talked about that before. Their muscles are big in their legs, and they have really thick tendons, and they jump about 9 feet. They're very small, so that's a huge jump. Especially the Ordi species, they have super long tails, and this is for controlling themselves in the air. They can kind of bunch up to spin faster and spread out to catch wind, just like a squirrel would or a cat would, how they always land on their forward. They actually survive snake attacks 3/4 of the time, which is pretty impressive. Lifestyle also helps with staying away from predators. They're solitary, so they stay about 200 to 300 square feet away from each other, and they do this to make sure that they don't eat each other's food, because there's not that much around. It's a desert. And they dig with their front hands, which have evolved, and they also stomp their feet, and because they have such good hearing, it sets territory of where they are from each other. Okay, now is the really cool part. This is how they survive with no water. So they use aerobic respiration just like other animals, but this is more to produce the H2O for the system. The body uses aerobic respiration to make it hotter than the outside air. The rat is hotter than the room temperature. This is so they never sweat, which means they don't lose water from sweating. Imagine us, we sweat all the time and we lose so much water, but we get to drink it at the same time. The other thing they do is they have super efficient kidneys that reabsorb as much H2O as possible. They use this using long loops of heme, which is in the kidneys, and it captures all the water. The medulla, what is on that right there, is in the kidney tissue, and it has really high concentration of ions in it, so the water transports across and back into the system. That's what we're seeing here. So the urinary tract system in kangaroo rats is very, very important to keep all that water. Okay, let's relate this back to us. GMOs, genetically modified organisms. We're thinking about corn, rice. When we get to that one right here, there it is. We have the really not so fun to eat apple and this huge apple that has a ton of genetically modified DNA that we put into it. So there's 5 steps of DNA of GMOs. DNA extraction, DNA cloning, DNA design, it's more of a redesign if you think about it that way, transformation, and then back across into breeding. Okay, so back to the reason I chose the ordi. While I was going through the different types of species, I came across the species Californicus, which is obviously in California. During the droughts in 2013 to 15, if you guys remember, they actually became pretty endangered, and that really that was surprising to me because I just had read all this crazy information about how durable these animals are, and then just being in California, having that drought, they almost went extinct. They're fine now, but that really struck a chord with me, realizing how bad the global environment cause can be. So what can we do to fix this? At first, just to follow the project, I was thinking of gene replicating, seeing if we can use the rats, just how we use rats and mice in labs, and going through and seeing if we can replicate that DNA that creates those enzymes that helps those rats with their medulla and creating that water because we're running out of it. And obviously that's possible. But at the end of the day, it's much easier to help the Earth than it is to get to Mars and to remake a population or to put these rats' DNA into humans. That's not what we should be worrying about. We should be worrying about global warming and what it's doing to our Earth and how we can fix this. Obviously, if these rats are having trouble, every other organism on the entire planet, including humans, are having a lot of trouble. Thank you.